Will Russia use nuclear weapons in the war with Ukraine? However remote the possibility, these are some of the key issues surrounding the risk of a Russian nuclear strike. On February 27th, 3 days after announcing the invasion of Ukraine, Vladimir Putin ordered his military command to put Russia's nuclear deterrent forces on high alert. 2 months later, he gave a veiled but unmistakable warning. If the West intervenes in what he calls a special military operation, he could use nuclear weapons in response.
If someone intends to intervene in the ongoing events from the outside and create strategic threats for Russia that are unacceptable to us, they should know that our retaliatory strikes will be lightning fast. We have all the tools for this, things no one else can boast of having now. And we will not boast, we will use them if necessary. And I want everyone to know that.
The U.S. quickly called Putin's comments dangerous, escalatory, and totally unacceptable.
No one should be making idle comments about the use of nuclear weapons or the possibility of the need to use that. It's irresponsible.
Biden also told Americans not to worry about a nuclear war with Russia. Biden's comment reflects a widespread view among Western experts and officials that the chances of Russia using nuclear weapons are extremely low. They say the main aim of Russia's threats seem to be to deter Washington and its NATO allies from direct involvement in the war. Experts see a range of possibilities if Russia were to use nuclear weapons, from a detonation over the Black Sea or an uninhabited part of Ukraine, to a strike against a Ukrainian military target or on a city. But doing that could endanger Russian troops and draw radioactive blowback on Russia itself. Some analysts say Washington could opt for a conventional military response rather than a proportional nuclear counterstrike. NATO might seek to redesign its US-built ballistic missile shield in Poland and Romania to shoot down Russian rockets in the future. It remains unclear whether a Russian strike might make other nuclear states, such as India or Pakistan, more likely to use such weapons.
All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Akakwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today I just want to go into the clip that I featured in the beginning, about the so-called Ukrainian-Russian war. And, they said, will Russia use, nuclear missiles against the Ukraine? The only way that they'll do that is if America gets involved. And, pretty much, Russia's getting that old USSR spirit back, because if it was a real war, the war would have ended the same day, because that's all Russia has to do is send one missile to the Ukraine and it's over. But they won't do that, until the time comes, until World War III happens. So I'm going to bring out a few scriptures. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And I'm going to start with the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38. And it says, "And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with shields and bucklers, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Behold, Slakia, be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company, them, Slakia, and all that, and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And yes, Russia is pretty much going to be a guard, unto its allies, Hence the reason why America isn't really getting involved, because they know it's going to lead to World War III. Any involvement from America is going to result, to a nuclear attack. But, again, just to, kind of sidetrack, the third wall can't come until, this thing right here, this thing is implemented, until this particular prophecy comes to pass, the thing is not actually showing a picture, but again, pull up a picture just so people are familiar. Again, World War III can't happen until this Revelation chapter 13 and 16 comes to pass, And that's pretty much what Russia is doing, is preparing to go to war with America. Because America has been involved in both World War I and II, but those weren't particularly America's wars, But this war is going to be ultimately it's going to be between Russia and America. And America is going to be destroyed by way of those ICBM missiles, This is the one war that America will win, Then again, while I'm thinking about it, let's just bring up a little information. Bear with me. And again, simple Google search, how long has America been at war? And it says research conducted by the Jane Group and Geo Television Network reveals that the United States has been at war for about 225 of the 243 years since its inception in 1776. So America has pretty much been at war throughout its time being in power, I'm going to go to the book of Revelation. I'm going to start at chapter 7, Slakia. And it says, after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads. And yes, again, this is going into before that destruction happens, the elect of the nation of Israel are going to be delivered, because once Revelation chapter 13, the implementation of, the mark of the beast, comes to pass, the other prophecies are going to follow right after it, because once I almost said it, the CHIP is implemented, World War III is, soon after it. Because again, once that happens, the nations are going to go to war with each other, and ultimately all of America's allies are going to turn on her. They're going to shoot missiles. And I'm going to jump to the book of Revelation, chapter 11. And I'm going to start at verse 3, and this is, Slucky. Slucky not verse 3, but chapter 13. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 13, and it says, "And the same hour was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to the God of heaven." Verse 14, and it says, "The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly." And yes, once Revelation chapter 13:16 comes to pass, that third woe, meaning World War III, is going to come to pass. It's going to happen fast, because usually, sometimes war can take, years. This particular war is only going to happen, it's only going to take an hour, It's only going to take 1 hour for America to be completely destroyed, I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and the whole chapter is good, but I'm just going to bring out a few verses. And it says, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "After these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through her." Slacky are waxed rich. Slacky. "And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." And yes, America has made, pretty much these other nations rich, in particular, China, because America is the biggest, consumer nation, the biggest import-export nation, because a lot of the products that are in America come from other countries, primarily China, So, the kings, meaning the rulers of these other nations, have gotten rich off of America, Then I'm going to jump down to verse 10. No, I'm going to start at verse 9. Revelation 18 and Revelation 18 and verse 9, it says, "And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come." And yes, those merchants, those cargo ships, because the judgment of America is going to be televised as well. So, whatever countries that don't get hit with the missiles, they're going to see the judgment of America, and they're going to weep, and, because they won't be able to sell their merchandise, no one will be able to buy their merchandise. I'm just going to read chapter 11 down to verse 13, pretty much to prove the point. And it says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more, the merchandise of gold and silver, and precious stones, and of pearls, and of fine linen, and purple, and silk, and scarlet, and all thyine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. You know, these other nations are going to weep and mourn because they aren't going to be able to sell their merchandise to America anymore, you know, because America is going to be completely destroyed, you know. Once those missiles are shot off, you know, the majority of the missiles are going to hit America, you know, and completely wipe this land out. And that's going to be the judgment of Esau Edom. I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 19, and verse 20. And it says, "And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with a sword, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls of the earth were filled with flesh." Yes, you know, this is going into, you know, when our Lord Yahweh Shai returns again, you know, the Spirit of the Lord are going to be in those missiles, you know, because once they're shot off, once they leave the silos, they're going to, you know, be shot into space. They're going to leave the ozone layer, you know, because each missile, you know, has a particular target, you know. Each warhead that are in these missiles have a particular target, you know. They're going to be shot out of the earth, then they're going to return into the earth, you know, going to come down faster than when they came up, and they're going to come back down on fire because they're going to be traveling so fast, you know. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 20 and verse 10, and it says, "And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever." And jumping down to verse 14, it says, "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." And yes, again, the lake of fire being, you know, America. Once it gets hit with those missiles, you know, the entire land is going to be on fire, you know, 5,000 square miles, you know. America is going to be completely engulfed in flames, you know, to the point where the flames are, you know, going to reach the sky, you know, because pretty much just like the flood, you know, the water was a cleansing agent. These missiles are also a cleansing agent, you know, because the Lord visited the world by way of the flood, you know, the first time, you know, that was the first death, you know, death by, you know, water. But the Lord made a covenant with Noah, you know, that he wouldn't judge the earth by a flood anymore, you know. Here's the reason for the rainbow. But, you know, Esau Edom took it and flipped it. But the rainbow, you know, is a representation of how the missiles are going to be shot off, because, you know, it's in an arc or an arch, you know, because that's pretty much what the missiles are going to do. They're going to be shot up and then they're going to come back down. That's the second death, you know, those ICBM missiles pelting America and burning up, you know, Esau, Edom, the other nations, and the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, you know. And then again, I'm going to go to the book of Job, chapter 20, and verse 24. And it says, "He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through." And yes, the only people that are going to pretty much survive World War III are, the elect of the nation of Israel, the elites, of the nation of Edom, you know, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, so forth, because they're going to be the first fruits, they're going to be slaves once America is taken down. It's like the other nations that aren't hit with missiles, but they're still going to be rounded up. Those are going to be the only people to escape that wrath, primarily the elect. Yeah. And I'm going to close on this. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 16. And it says, the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. And yes, that's how many missiles are going to be shot off, And it's not exactly 200 million missiles, but the warheads making up, 200 million. Because there's going to be so many of them. Because, Esau Edom has to be taken down, He came into power by violence, and he's going to be taken out of power by violence, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Kakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say shalom.